Hi, everybody, it's Robbie. And guess what? I am late. Yeah, that's right. The podcast is going to be published a little late this week because this week has been crazy. But here we are, and we never forget, and we always have an episode every week. So tune in this week. Stephen and I are talking about a lot of different things. For some reason, we start talking about booties. That's going to be an interesting conversation. And tune in to see if I actually did do what I promised I would do. All right, I'm going to keep this short and let's go. Remember, follow, subscribe, and make sure that you continue to listen to Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. Here we go. Hi, everyone. We're back. It's Robbie from Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. Here we are this week for the podcast. Hey, Stephen.
Hello, Robbie. Hello, my friends. It is I, Stephen Kennedy, your board-certified atheist at your service, and Robbie as well, if she ever wants to talk about it.
Okay, here we
How are
go.
you doing?
Okay, I'm doing well. And guess what, everyone? I'm going to start off by playing a clip.
All right. What's this about?
My topic today is about reality TV. I may be watching more reality TV than scripted TV. I may be one of those people. So when I go on the road, right, when I'm doing shows and I'm on the road, I hate being alone. I hate being without my wife. So if I'm in a hotel, I have the TV on. And there are channels that are just, back-to-back reality. Right. I'm never watching a scripted show.
So what do you want? What is the reality show you're into?
It could be anything. It could be sometimes it's a game. Sometimes it's I've watched things that I would not watch in my home. So I'll watch a little bit of the Kardashians. I'll watch a little bit of...
Well, I would have never pegged you for a Kardashian.
Well, I'm fascinated.
But it's all fake. It's all staged. It's all...
I understand that. I'm fascinated. I don't mean to be derogatory. I believe that these women have found real contributions to make that are making them famous and wealthy. But initially, if you said, what is the individual talent of any one of them, I'd go, I couldn't tell you. I don't know why they're on my television set. They're not actresses. They're not singers. They're not dancers. They're not, so what is the talent that you would normally bring to a television show? So given that there is no obvious talent in the way we think about talent, they have built an empire on television. And it fascinates me because it wouldn't be something that I would normally have watched, but they are a phenomenon.
That, everyone, is really, really not really. I listened to the podcast this week. I kept my promise. Yes.
Incredible. Incredible. You didn't tell me who that was, and now I know.
I did that on purpose.
Wow. I'm touched.
It was really good. I'm
Who
actually
was that?
following. That
Who
was
was that?
freaking Jason Alexander talking about how he watches reality TV. So there was
Oh,
this
that was
episode-
Jason saying that he
was
watches the
Jason.
Kardashians.
Yes, that was Jason Alexander saying he watches the
And who was the other
Kardashians.
person?
That's the other host on the show. I don't know his name.
Wow, I didn't know he would. I didn't peg Jason Alexander to be a Kardashian fan.
That's what the point of the conversation was the fact that he thinks he said they have no freaking talent, and he didn't want to be mean about it, but they literally have no talent. But he's fascinated about why people are watching this, and it's become this juggernaut phenomenon for like 10, almost 20 fucking years. It
Yes.
really is crazy though, right? And I watched. Okay, so I listened to this, and I listened to another episode, and they were talking about reality TV on this podcast. But this is a really good podcast. I have to give you credit for this one, and I barely give you credit for some things.
Wow.
But this is a good podcast. I do like Jason Alexander because I watch Seinfeld, and he is funny. But I like the approach that they have to topics, and they're so much older too. So they talk about things that I heard my mom talk about. Like they were talking about this show called That's Incredible or something that was on TV a
Um,
super long time ago, but it was like one of the first um like reality TV shows. I never saw it, but anyway, it was just crazy. And then the reality TV show, they talked about the 90s. Remember the 90s when they used to have like Alien Autopsy and all that stuff? I was like, oh my God, I remember
I don't
those
remember that.
shows. You don't remember those shows?
Alien Autopsy? No, no.
Yes, yes, yes. They were in the 90s. You got to remember them. Yes, because I
No.
watched them. Anyway, and we were just talking about all the alien. Remember all those? And like when animals attack. Remember that show?
Nope, I don't remember that one
You
either.
don't remember that show? That was in the 90s too. That might have been in the 2000s actually. Anyway,
Animals when animals attack. No, I don't. I've never
yeah,
seen it. Not to my. Maybe I've seen it. I just don't remember. It's
you don't
probably something
remember.
I blocked out. I don't know.
Okay, it probably is, but I'm just saying I forgot about those shows, and then of course they
Yeah.
talked about the Housewives, and they talked about the they talked about what is it? Oh, The Bachelor. Oh my God, the stuff that they had on The Bachelor. I almost had that clip. They were talking about how The Bachelor. So there's a show now called Unreal, and it
Uh,
breaks out how sinister and basically shady reality TV is. And they talk about on The Bachelor, evidently, they have a therapist that they hire on The Bachelor, or they did. I don't know if it's maybe it's a new one. And she talks to all the girls on The Bachelor, and then she works for the producers, and then she goes to the producers and says, she told me like she has anorexia, blah blah blah, maybe it's time you press that button.
wow.
Or she, yes, yes, yes. Or she has like, insecurity about this, maybe it's time you do this. So they do all of this stuff
That's
behind this.
amazing.
I was like, oh my God. So they talked about that. And evidently, the woman who does Unreal was either a producer or something on The Bachelor, and she's repentant. So she created this show to talk about how shitty all this stuff is. It was crazy. There's a woman who wrote this book about reality TV show and like, is it reality TV and is it dying or is it over? Because they said a lot of production for reality TV right now is actually dwindling,
I
and
hope
they're
so.
not taping in LA and all of this. But a lot
Oh,
of those
good.
people are not protected like by SAG and the unions like the other productions are.
Um,
So there's all these people now who are just like out of work and just like struggling. So there's that part. But
um,
anyway, I just think because it was always like, low hanging fruit, like the bottom of the barrel, right? It was never
yeah.
respected. But
Right.
except for certain things like the housewives and all that sort of thing. Anyway, my point is that I thought this was a good show. They also had a show about social media. I will continue to listen to it when I
Wow.
see topics that I
I'm
like. I'm
thrilled.
not gonna
I'm
listen to it every
thrilled.
week. I'm not gonna listen to it every week. But
I'm
yeah.
thrilled.
Yeah,
Thrilled.
I know.
So
So
we actually mutually agree about the same podcast that it's a fantastic one. I'm
it was good. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
nice.
Yes. Okay. So then the
We
other
just
podcast,
going
huh?
back. Hold on one sec. Just going back to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
And then I
people
have
being
another podcast. Then you can go about your podcast. But what do you want to say about the reality TV?
about the reality TV world. I
Hmm.
don't really feel terrible about the people losing their not having employment and not being supported by the unions because
Hmm.
I mean try to be a more productive part of society for real. I mean it's garbage. I can't. You told me that the reality TV world is dwindling. I'm so thrilled to hear that. I cannot. It's just such garbage, mind numbing, brain cell killing television. It's just I yeah, I can't tolerate that stuff. Now,
I
I
mean,
mean, when there are some cute girls on, I
see,
might
here you
watch
go.
half an
Here
episode
you
or
go.
something. I might watch half an episode, but I hate it all overall. Speaking of hot girls being on a show, I'll tell you why Jason Alexander and why any other guy that watches Kardashians is captivated by that show. It's because of the hot booty. That's what it comes down to. That's why any male watching that show is captivated. It's the booty.
Their behinds? You're talking about their behinds? Like their behinds,
Yeah,
like their
yeah,
literal
booty. Yeah,
behinds.
yes, booty,
Okay,
booty.
so we're gonna, I need to talk about another reality show.
Okay.
another
Let's do it.
podcast, and we're going to come back to the booty conversation. Okay,
Okay.
we are, because we got to really have a conversation about the
Oh
booties.
boy. Oh boy.
Okay, you shouldn't have brought that up with me because it's the point of
I'm
contention.
starting to regret it, and I don't even know where it's going.
Exactly. Okay, so the other, I had to bring up because we haven't talked about my girls in a while, so I had to talk about
Oh.
them on this show. Reasonably Shady. Um, Giselle and Robin who used to be on Real Housewives of Potomac, but now she's on Traders, and then Giselle, who's on Real Housewives of Potomac. So I love this show, and
Mm,
I think I've told you offline why I love it. I really like
yeah.
the show because you can really see their friendship, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, guys. But you can really see their friendship and how they are able to do business together. They were friends before they even were on. Actually, they kind of knew each other, but they became friends when they were on the show together. But you can really see that they are genuinely friends and that they really have each other's back. But they also too can go back and forth, and I really like that dynamic. I think that it's
Do you
just
think we have
nice
that
to
kind of dynamic?
see.
Do you think our audience can tell that you and I have that friendship, even though it sounds like we are very hateful of each other on the podcast?
Oh my God, let's get to that. I have a couple
I'm
clips
just
to play,
my
please. I
feelings
want to
are
play
really
these
getting
clips.
there. Okay,
I
sure.
have to play. I have to play these clips because they're just funny. Okay, so one, they were talking about reality TV, so I needed to play play what they said. Hold on.
Got to tell you this. It's season 3. I know everybody's gonna be like, Giselle, shut up. It's season 3 of Dubai Bling on Netflix. So you've been watching that? Yes. So speaking of Dubai Bling, someone told me about this young rich and African show. Yes, I've never seen that. I saw the preview or whatever. Okay. I haven't seen it. I think because I'm just like, okay, I can only take so much. But Dubai Bling, because I've been watching Dubai Bling, I have to continue. Okay. So it's reality TV nonsense. Yeah. At its finest.
Reality TV nonsense at its finest. So those are the shows that are still holding on. I also too watch Dubai Bling, and
What
if
is it
you're
called?
Dubai Bling,
What is that?
so it's a show about all these people who live in Dubai. They are Middle Eastern.
Oh, yes, I've seen
It's
the previews.
on Netflix. Sometimes they're actually, it's so authentic that sometimes there's actually subtitles because they're speaking in their native language
Hmm.
on the show, but they get crazy. And then the outfits that the women wear, like in between when they're doing the little testimonies, are
Hmm.
ridiculous. Like they're so over the top. But it gets to be dramatic, but it's still hilarious. Anyway, I also too love Dubai Bling. Had to play that. Um, but so there are certain shows on reality TV that's what I want to get to
So,
that
what
are
is it
their
about
lasting.
that show which is captivating versus the other reality shows that are dying? What do you think is the
Like
difference?
that's so they were talking about that a little bit because there was a Real Housewives of Dubai, but that show got canceled. And so they talked a little bit about how that got canceled. One, there wasn't really that much chemistry between the housewives in Dubai, but
Hmm.
the chemistry is there on Dubai Bling because they all know each other. They're all in the same friend group, and
Mm.
they also too do business with each other. So there's that, and then too,
So, it
they
doesn't
have like
sound as
real money.
contrived as the other shows.
Yes, yes.
Like,
Well, all these things are probably like contrived to
yeah,
a degree
yeah,
because they
but
talked
not
about
as,
that
yeah.
on Jason Alexander's show. I'm really not really about how evidently. So this is crazy too. Jason Alexander's cousin has been on Survivor 3 times. He's like known. His name is Penner or something. That's his cousin, and
Uh,
so
I don't know who
he's
that
been.
is.
Well, if our listeners watch Survivor, they will probably know who this dude is.
His name's
So he
Pinner?
was Penner is what he goes by on there.
Okay.
Jonathan something. Anyway, but that's his cousin. So he says he was talking about how he comes over for like holiday dinners and they talk about Survivor. And so he says that what they do sometimes, this is how so fake it is. It's real, right? Oh my goodness, what's happening? Can you hear me? Could you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear me? Okay.
yes, yes.
It's real, but they say that what happens is sometimes like you see they'll cut to a scene and you'll see somebody's reaction, like their face, and that'll be a face from like 3 or 4 days ago. So they're building a story to create something. He said that one
Yeah.
time when he was in Survivor and he won, and they were all starving, and he won food. And he was eating. They just showed a picture of him eating and eating after winning. And the people are like, F him. I can't stand him. Look at him
Mhm.
eating, blah, blah, blah. And it made it seem like he was an asshole eating in front of them while they couldn't
Mhm.
eat and they were hungry. Well, he said, his cousin said to him that what happened was they cut all that out in a different way because in the actual situation after he won, he offered everybody food and offered them stuff to
Yeah.
eat, but they
Yeah.
didn't show that part. They were like, "No, no, man, you won
Yeah.
fair and square, blah blah blah." So anyway, they were just talking about that. Dubai Bling is crazy. Also, too, they um they have lots of money, and the way they shoot it so you can really see the opulence of it.
Hmm.
It's like the camera angles and all of that.
Okay.
And again, like their drama, it's drama, but it pulls you in because it's intermixed with their daily lives. So you still see that part too. So you're getting to know them.
Mm.
So, but it is ridiculous. It is mind numbing. It is all of the things, but
Yeah.
it's still really good.
Yeah, I know a few people that have been on reality TV shows, just like regular reality and also reality dating TV shows, and they've told me about how it is very much about cutting and grabbing reactions and ma- basically creating a story that didn't actually exist by cutting and pasting different scenarios from different
Mhm.
takes, putting them, merging them together and making a whole new scenario that positions people to look bad because it's more entertaining.
Yes. Yes, 100%, which is crazy,
Yeah.
but it makes total sense. Okay, anyway, so what did you watch, or what did you listen to on podcast? Did you listen to
I didn't
anything, or are
listen
we talking
to
about
any.
the
I
booties?
I didn't have. I didn't listen to any podcast this week,
That's
but
okay.
I did have one clip. I wanted to play for you and for our listeners. Uh, it's from a supposed dating doctor. Okay, and
Wait, though, I wanna get back to the Kardashian conversation
oh
before we
boy,
go here,
oh great. Okay, let's do it.
okay? Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. So, I want you to break down for me, you said that people watch it because of the booties, right?
Yes,
What do you mean by that? Like, I want you to be very specific about this.
I mean the physical display of body parts is very appealing, and that's the one reason why men watch that show. There's no
Okay,
other reason.
so
It's not
and
because the content. It's just about them flaunting their bodies.
okay, flaunting their bodies. And you know that this is the thing. For so long, that body type and that body shape was looked down upon. It was
Yeah,
seen as something that was totally not aspirational, not something that people wanted, and something that actually signified low levelness and kind of the base of
yeah,
society.
yeah.
That body type is primarily Black, African,
And
Brazilian.
Latina. Let's not forget.
Latino has a lot of African roots, if you want to get down to the specifics, even though they're pulling history out of our um, schools. But there's a lot of that. I mean, we all know that we all came from the continent of Africa. That's where the first remnants
Well,
of
yeah,
human was
yeah.
found, right? We
Originally,
all know that. But everybody likes to like say that and then say that, let it put leave it there and then forget about it and then
yeah,
talk about everything else because they're saying everything else made it all better. But that's the origin. So if that's the origin and you agree that that's the origin, everybody agrees that that's the origin, then
all right.
let's
It's a
stop.
fact.
So my point is this is what a lot of people in a Black community have issues with the Kardashians. and I know some people are like, I don't really want to hear this. And that's fine. You don't have to hear this, but this is just reality. Is the fact that they have made their bodies into that and basically utilize that to make money.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like, what do people call culture vultures? I don't even really know what that means. Like people say that, but I don't really know what it means, honestly, because I feel like we all do that. Like we all take from other cultures. So I don't get the culture vulture thing. But my point is that we just need to acknowledge where all of that comes from and not belittle people who are the originator of that body as much. Because that is what drives me crazy. You cannot sit up here and talk all this shit about black women and then go and watch the literal epitome of them on the Kardashian and then say, wow, that's so amazing. Now,
So
I'm
let
not
me.
talking about over sexualizing
Yeah.
black. That's not my point. That's not my point. My point is that there is part that we want to take from somebody that we degrade and then we want to elevate it and then we
Yeah.
want to remove the part that we elevate from the people who were degrading, even though that's the origin. And I
Yeah.
think that we need to stop doing that and just call it for what it is. It has nothing to do with fucking DEI. It has nothing to do with
Oh,
making other
she's
people
even sprinkling
feel.
DEI in this conversation. I
Yeah,
love it.
well, I'm just saying it has nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah.
It's just about, at the end of the day, this is all about giving people respect and
So
honor
let
and
me.
not being an asshole. Can we just try to do that? So that is my issue. That is all I'm going to say. But I do want to hear your point, and I'm not going to respond. I'm going to let you have the last word.
Okay. So now I'll give you my perspective from all the people around me in my world, right? So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but black men have always loved big booty, right? But it's the non-black men that have looked down upon it for decades, right? Now, the person that repopularized and I the big booty, and I say repopularized because back in the day, uh, a larger woman was considered very attractive, right? But
Yes, like a long, long time ago,
yeah,
like before
specifically
this
on a
country
wealth.
was even founded.
Yeah. Now, the person that brought it back into popular, into a more popular sphere where everyone started liking big booty was who was it? You know who it was? J Lo,
Yeah, Jennifer Lopez.
right? And
But she's
after
Puerto
that,
Rican.
and after that,
She's Puerto
non-black
Rican,
men.
though.
Yeah, well, let me get there. So after that, non-black men started loving big booty. Now, from my personal experience, what I've seen now, non-black men like big booty, whether it is regardless of what race the person is. They can be black, they can be Latina, they can be white. I don't see, from what I'm seeing around me, I don't see discrimination in terms of big booties saying, oh, look at that hot Latina girl. She's got a nice, beautiful big booty. Oh, but that black girl, no, she's got a big booty. It looks bad. I don't see that discrimination. I see men around me liking big booty regardless of whether they're Latina or white or black. That's my experience. It's brought back into popularity, and I have not witnessed any discrimination between big booty on whatever race.
I'm not saying there's discrimination. I'm talking about we need to understand where the origin is. It did not come from the Kardashians. That's my point.
In fact, I'm pretty certain that Kim Kardashian has had implants because the,
Yes, they
it
all
doesn't,
have.
that body type doesn't make any sense. It
Exactly. You
it,
can't
it
have little teeny legs and then a booty that's just sitting there
yeah,
because that's like,
it's
no.
not making sense.
I
It's
wasn't supposed to
absurd.
say anything. I wasn't
It
supposed to
doesn't
say
make any
anything.
sense.
I was supposed
That whole body construct, it doesn't add up, right? So she's obviously got implants here and there.
to. Okay, like you're having the last word. I'm not saying anything. Shut up.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's all I want to share is that I see that people are not ignoring the fact, the roots of the big booty. Maybe you are. I have personally not witnessed that around me.
Mm, I think there's a larger male population that is not of your ilk. But okay, you want to bring something else up. I just need to get that out.
Listen,
So
I,
go on.
I came across an interesting take, and I think you're gonna love this because
Oh
it's
Lord,
it's
that
a
means I'm not.
no. I actually mean you're gonna love this because
Mm,
the supposed dating doctor is speaking about how men typically go about behaving on a first date versus
mhm.
what they and how it completely turns off a woman versus what they should be doing. And it basically talks down about men. It makes them look idiots. So I wanted to play this for you and get
I
your
don't know if
thoughts
I'm
on
gonna
it.
like that, but go ahead.
Well, let's. I think you will. It's down your alley. Anyway, here we go.
Ah, down my alley.
Up your alley, down your alley, whatever.
Just,
Here we go.
just, just
Right,
play it,
right.
play it,
Hold on.
play it.
Here we go.
That all nascent relationships must pass through. And on some level, the relationship doesn't even begin in earnest until couples go through the crisis of disappointment, where
Oops,
either
sorry. Let
through
me start from the beginning.
how most men blow the first date, they blow the first date by talking too much. They talk too much out of the misguided desire to prove their value to women. They usually do it in a very heavy handed, ham fisted way. And generally, all they do is succeed in disabusing that woman of the fantasy that she had of that man, which is why she was sitting there on that date tonight. Because the likelihood that anything I say is going to match up with what you want to see in the privacy of your own mind is functionally zero. So I need to tread very carefully because you're not on this date because you like me, because you don't fucking know who I am yet. You're here because of what you hope I might be. And so I need to be very careful not to disabuse you of that hope too quickly. The key to transitioning from one phase to the other is going to sound real bad, but it's a slow and gradual disappointment. Right? And you have to do this because if you don't do it, then what do you end up with? You end up in a relationship where you're not truly known and you're just performing all the time. And that's probably not sustainable, but it's certainly not very satisfying. And there'll be a sudden disappointment. There generally is. I talk about that in the book. The crisis of disappointment is one of the first crises that all nascent relationships must pass through. And on some level, the relationship doesn't even begin in earnest until couples go through the crisis of disappointment, where either through one significant betrayal or the accumulation of small inconsistencies, the fantasy on which the relationship has been based up until that point shatters.
Okay.
That is Diary of a CEO. I recognize that.
Is it?
The
Hold
guy
on.
that I told you about.
Is it really?
I think
Did
so.
I, on accident, listen to?
A podcast. Because I recognize the
You're
host.
you're right. It is
I
Steve
know.
Bartlett. Yes.
Yes, I
Wow.
recognize.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Well, this is so I'm listening to all these podcasts. A part of our show is the podcast reviews. Like I'm taking a different approach on this too. I'm going to know every freaking podcast out there soon. Um,
Wow. Okay.
so I don't know how I feel about that. Here's my thing. I think he's right to a certain degree, but I also do think it depends on the woman. Um, I just think it depends on the woman and the relationship. Not every woman is going to, in her mind, have a fantasy of who this person's going to be. Now, they might have in their mind that they want it to work out, but whether that works out depends upon a variety of different things. Some people like people who talk a whole lot, right? Some people
Yeah.
like that. Some people like that
Yeah.
that phenomenon. Some people don't. Some people will shut you down. But it sounds to me, and again, this I'm not a psychologist here, but it sounds to me like that happened to him a lot. Like that's what I'm hearing.
I agree with you.
That's
I
what
think
I'm hearing.
I think he is putting everyone in one bag. This
Yeah,
is
you can't do that.
right. Okay, I'm surprised that I thought you were going to agree with him. That's why I was ready to fight with you. Um,
No, no, not at all. Because I mean, romantic relationships and how you interact with people are, it's so personal and it's so different, and everybody is so, what
Everyone's
makes
got a
this
different
all great.
personality,
Yes, yes. Everybody wants different things. Everybody thinks,
different
you know,
chemistry.
different chemistry, different levels of attraction. Let me move closer to my microphone. Different levels of attraction, different levels of what they want in a partner, how they want the relationship to be, different expectations,
Yes,
different
okay.
non-expectations, all of that like bullshit that happened with their family, all this dysfunctional, functional stuff, behavior, mother, daddy, brother, sister, all this stuff comes up when you
Yeah,
are deciding whether or not you think somebody is good for you or not, or whether it clicks or not. It's like some people don't even buy into the idea that you need to have chemistry and love, like in
yeah,
arranged marriages, right? Like
yeah,
it's about, do you fit in a family? So all
yeah.
of that, again, what he said, it sounds like that's what happened to him.
You make a very valid assessment. I agree with you. And also, I want to throw in that there's also the situation where many times I've gone on it, and I've talked about this before, where I call it the trick date, where I go on a date, a first date, and I want to be. Now, there's been many back and forth conversations online on a dating app through text message, but then when you go on your first date, I want to withhold, and I want to not create any false impressions based on a few words of what I communicate on this first date, right? So I try to hold back, and I let the lady speak, and I try to learn about the lady. But on these trick dates, they want you to talk as much as possible and slip up and give them some information they're looking for so they can find a reason to think you are a screw up, right? Or there's something that you're not looking for. They want information to find out. So they want to get as much information as they can to figure out, should we do this again, or is he one of the does he meet one of those criteria that I need to say, no, that's not the kind of guy I'm looking for. So I agree with you, though. There's just so many different situations, and I think this dating doctor is not he's giving things from his own experiences.
Okay, so who are these women that you're going on these trick dates? Like what you just laid out to me, that sounds like a fucking waste of time. Like I don't understand
I you
what
know
you would
in
go
in
on a
in the
date
end, to
knowing.
your point, that is I agree with you, because why would you want to be with a person that's going to do all these play all these games right on the first date, right? It's about getting to
Yeah,
genuinely know someone.
yeah. Like this is why I said that I might just end up with two big male dogs, and that's it. Because, like I mean, like I just don't have patience for all of that. That just seems like that's just a lot of extra stuff. And to your point, like I know you're talking about this trick date thing. One, like I said, it seems like it's a fucking waste of time. Like I don't have time for that, right? Number one. Number two, the women who are, as you in your mind are saying, concocting all of this stuff, who are these people? Like what kind of time do they have that that's what they're doing? Because you're calling it that. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if that's your perspective, but clearly you've had that experience. So that's a whole nother thing in and of itself. And thirdly, the idea that you have to do all of this to get to something real is pretty pathetic. And I kind of, I mean, I hate to say this, but there's a part of me that just blames all of the stuff that we're doing right now. Social media,
Yeah,
texting, um, like I'm doing my best, and this is why I like doing the podcast. I feel like, and this is why I think people do like podcasts. Podcasts allow you to get to know people for a longer period of time, over a period of time. They're talking, they're sharing, even the scripted ones. You can hear people's tone of voice in, intonations, how they change. If it's on video, you can see the reactions.
yeah,
If they're actors, that's a whole nother thing. But my point is that, or good liars, yeah, right. But even with that, they're talking about real things too. And it's not scripted and put in like cuts, like the reality TV. It's a stream of consciousness. So I think that it's a little bit more authentic. And
Yes,
I do
agreed.
feel like people are now craving that so much. They're craving
And that's why
real
podcasts are
connection.
so popular these days, right?
Yes, they're craving that.
That's
And
why
all
reality
this
TV is
other
dying.
stuff, yeah, agreed. All this other stuff, people are exhausted by it. I could go back. I went back on Instagram, but like an account that I spun up because I thought I was going to do something else other than the podcast. But you're doing the podcast, and so I don't really have any followers. There's no like connection in my name or anything. And all I do on that is look at workout videos and food recipes, and it's great. Like that's what I do. Now I have gone onto my other Instagram account that I shut down for a month on my
Mhm.
desktop, but I have not re-enabled it on my phone. And I'm glad because whenever I do look at it on my desktop, some of the things that come up, I'm like, you know what? What am I doing? This is like wasting time. I feel shitty. And and we know this, like we know that this happens, but there are some things on there that are good. There's people who make their livelihoods on there. So I get it. And I'll use it for that, for skincare, for the food things, for all of that. So all of that, yes.
Mhm.
But DMing somebody, all of the fakeness of it, I think people are tired of it. Like I got to the point I was driving the other night and I was thinking to myself, what if I just stop texting people?
Mhm.
What if I just stop texting people? How many relationships will I lose if I just stop texting people and I only
Mhm.
take their fucking phone calls?
Yeah.
Because I'm tired.
You have a lot of people
Texting
that
is a way it's
actually,
a way to hide behind shit, like the ghosting and the this and the that. Like, like fuck all that.
what
What were you
percentage
gonna
would you
say?
say, what percentage of your friends, people in your social circle, are texters and what percent are uh, phone callers?
Hmm.
I'd say
Hold on,
for
I'm
me,
drinking some water. Or voice notes. Like I like voice notes too.
yeah, yeah, that's actually so. I
Mm-hmm.
am not someone that likes to call my friends, but I leave voice notes all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I get into that with a lot of my friends, and we both, we all,
Yeah, I
whoever I'm
love
going
voice
back and
notes.
forth with, we love the voice notes versus talking on the phone. I actually have, I
Well,
actually
that's
have
what I mean
one.
too. Okay, let me. When I said calling, I actually I mean voice notes. Like a combination of both. Like
Okay,
I'll take a phone call. That's fine here and there. But if you leave me a voice note, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna feel a lot better than that because I can hear you versus a fucking text now. Like
uh,
I have a
but
lot of
you don't, you're
free
not a
text.
fan of the actual phone call where you're talking uh, to someone for an extended period of time.
No, I'm a fan of that too. I'll do that too. I will do that. Not always because I don't always have the time to do that,
Yeah,
right? But the voice note I like because at least I can hear
right, right,
your spirit on the other
absolutely,
end, and that's
absolutely,
important. And I think that I text. Now, I'm not. I'm talking about text like I can't stand it, right? But I text a lot. So let me just be clear. That is, I'm doing both things at the same time. Talk about how much I hate it, but I
yeah,
also
yeah,
do it.
same.
But I just want to be more engaged with people in real life. And I'm
Mhm.
tired. I feel like that's why we have so much like this hate and all of this stuff. Like, we don't really hate each other. I just refuse to believe that. I think there's some people who out there hate other people and
I
are
hate
having
people. I
loud
hate a lot of people.
voices
I have a
on
list.
on the internet, but those are few and far between. I don't think everyone is like that, and we got to get back to interacting with each other. And I want to hear and experience someone's energy and
Yeah,
their vibes, their feeling, who they are, versus just reading some freaking words on a screen. And there's some people who I interact with that way only. And I mean, I'll see them here and there, right? It's not like I don't ever see them or don't ever talk on the phone, but it's rare. But that's how they communicate. But I will say a lot of those types of um people are people who I have met in real life before, and we had a relationship before
Mm.
in person, so the texting is not as bad. But I am finding that even still, with the texting, even if I did have a relationship with a person, and I don't mean like, romantic, I mean friendship, etc., right? If I'm always texting you, I am kind of putting you in a box in my mind. Like I'm not like removing you, but I'm just kind of
You-
like, oh, you're a texter. Okay.
So,
Like
so
that's
you're
not
talking about someone you're dating or a friend?
both.
Okay. See, for me, I
But
I
mainly of
want
even
to
friends, like,
actively.
I'm really talking about my friends for the most
Okay.
part. Like, I'm talking about
Okay.
my friends. Like, if I'm always texting you, like, if that's the only way
Yes,
that we interact,
but you see each other in person as well, right?
not a lot,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know? Like, not a lot. So if I'm not seeing you a lot or I'm not hearing your voice a lot, and it primarily is texting, we're cool and I'm cool with you, but there's a part of me now that just feels like that is a boundary. Like that's how I'm feeling like it's like okay, this person, if people are just texting you, they are, and you don't see them like that much or you don't hear from them or voice notes or any of that, it's a boundary that they're putting on the relationship. They're only going to go so far in terms of the interaction, right? And the connection and
Yeah.
the way that you are in their life. And so I need to recognize for myself that that's a boundary for me too. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not
Yeah. Understood.
discounting them or anything like that, but I do see that it's a priority mechanism too of how you prioritize your friendships. If you're just texting someone versus if you have like multiple layers of interaction with them.
Yeah. So the people that so generally speaking across the
And
board,
that's
I
me. I could
prefer.
be wrong, so whatever.
No, I agree with you.
Or
But
water.
I will say for me, the people that I prefer texting or voice messages, voice notes, whatever you call it. I prefer doing that over getting on the phone with, talking to someone on
Mhm.
the phone. But those people that I'm texting and leaving voice notes for back and forth, we're going back and forth. Those people, like you said, there's layers. I also see them in person. We make it a point to see each other in person and spend time in person with each other. So we're face to face. So there is a relationship connection there. It's not only on text message or voice notes. The only person I really think it's critical for me to be talking to on the phone is someone
Mhm.
I'm dating. It's someone I'm dating, right? I
Okay.
have I have I have just a handful of friends, less than five friends, that prefer to speak on the phone rather than texting and voice notes, and that I can manage because it's just a few people.
Mhm.
It's not that I mean, that I can manage because it's just a handful. So, but overall, I prefer just texting and voice notes, and then because we're friends, we make it a point to see each other in person. Now, like you said, if we're not going to see each other in person either, then you kind of put that person in a category like, okay, it's a tier two or tier three friend, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I hate tiering, but it is. It's like you're tier 4. That's how
Yeah.
I feel like. If all we do is text, then I'm tier 4 in your life. I don't need to say that. You don't need to say that.
Wait,
But
do
that
you say if all we do is have sex?
text,
Oh,
text,
okay.
text,
I was
T
gonna
E
say,
X
Robbie,
T,
you
T
naughty
E
girl.
X T. See,
Okay,
that's
I think you
just
said if
your
all we
mind.
do
That's
is sex.
your mind.
I, I was gonna say if all we do is sex,
Oh
that
my
sounds like a tier
god.
one to me. That's a
Oh
perfect
my
setup.
god. Oh my
Um,
god. No, that's not what I was saying.
uh,
Text,
I, you know,
TEXT.
I thought
I
we
mean,
were
it's tier
aligned
4
in here, but
relationship.
clearly not.
Mhm. But again, like if you see that person in person, here and there, if you had a pre-existing relationship with that person and you were not just texting all the time, then I think that there's like some gray area there, right? And
Yeah,
that could be someone who is close to you, but maybe you don't live in the same parts of the country, right? Maybe you're really bit like there's different things. Like if you don't live in the same parts of the country and all that kind of stuff, like I could
Right.
see
Right.
that,
Obviously.
right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there's other things where if that person is close to you, like they live in the same area, they are um, you know, you see them out, like if you go out and then you see them out, but yet you're still like that's as I said, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's not a real relationship. I mean, you are tier 4. But
Yeah.
if it's long, I mean, long distance, like I have friends who live in other states and I keep in touch with them and we'll do voice notes. Sometimes we call, but a lot of times we do text and then we see each other here and there. And that's okay. Like that's different, right? Like I'll give you an example. I have my college roommate. I don't talk to her that much, but we're still really close. But
Mhm.
again, she was my college roommate. I lived with her for years.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
it's a different setup. It's a
so it's a
different
different scenario,
different
right?
base.
And we're gonna get together in May for her birthday, and we've been texting about it. And like I think maybe we had like one phone call, but we text, and I'm like, well, I know I'm not a tier 4 friend to her because again, she's my college roommate. We've known each other for years,
Yeah.
but so that type of relationship I don't classify as tier 4. That's
Hmm.
not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Right.
if a MF, for those who don't know, MF is abbreviation for a motherfucker. So when I don't want to say the
God,
word,
Robbie,
I
you're
will
so cold.
say
It's a filthy mouth.
MF.
What are we gonna do with you?
Okay. So that's why sometimes these shows are explicit. Um
One thing I wanted to go back to was before we call it a day. I wanted to go back
why are we
to
calling it a day? We got more to talk about.
yeah, it's
Are
times
you getting tired? You
no,
had
not
yeah.
getting tired, just a lot of things going on today. So
Mhm.
but one thing I wanted to go back to was I actually do have a list of people. I call it a wish list, and
Uh-huh.
it kind of scares some of my friends, particularly one close friend of mine. Her name is Sheena, and I hope she listens to this episode because um, it is I call it a wish list. It's a list of people that, if we had a legal purge day, I would like to kill them.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
and and Sheena she's very frightened by this, and uh, sometimes is concerned when we're hanging out alone because she thinks that she may end up on my wish list, and so it's a
What?
pretty fun relationship we have.
First of all, y'all didn't know you had
But
a
we're not.
kill list?
Oh, I call it a wish list, Robbie. A wish list. Let's
Oh
not
my
call it a kill
god.
list. Let's be more appropriate about this. All right.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay. You call it
Right.
what you want to call it. I'm not even going to put words to it.
So when I'm
I just did, but go on.
if I'm alone with Sheena in a parking structure, for example, I will scare the shit out of her. It's just such a thrilling feeling for me because she thinks
Do
that
you
she
like
might have
Trina?
landed on my. No, she's a close friend of mine.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but she's afraid that she might have landed on my wish list, and so sometimes she's afraid to be alone with me, which is just such. It's so exciting for me. I love fucking with her.
I can't imagine anybody being afraid of you.
Right? I'm like a teddy bear.
Just so that, like you and fear of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like not like. There's only one person who I know who is a friend of mine who I would be
Kill.
concerned if everybody came up to him.
Do you uh, meaning he would do something to them?
Yes, like my nickname for him is the equalizer.
Well, let's keep it honest, Robbie. Do you have a list of people you would want to off if there were no
No,
repercussions? Okay,
no, no,
just
no repercussions. I don't think about that. I just don't. I don't think about that because, and I know you're totally going to disagree with this, but I believe that these things happen in a divine way. I do. I think that people,
like
I obviously,
divine,
yeah,
of course.
Yes,
Of course.
divine, of
We're
course, of
taking it here. I just
course,
want to let you
of
know.
course, of course. Yes, that's what I believe, and we know this, right? I believe this. And I'm not going to ever, I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on that. You know that that's my belief. Um, I think all of this happens. Now, what I do know is that it doesn't always happen in the timing that I would like it to happen, but I know that it happens. And I think that we see evidence of this all the time,
Do we?
of people who are shitty ass people, and it comes around. Now, whether or not you believe in God like I do,
I think it comes
there
around
is,
because you watch other people do the dirty work that you don't want to do, and then you call it divine.
well, if that is happening, that still is divine if the people are, if it's happening. Yeah. So,
Okay. Well, on that note, shall we call it a day? And then,
oh my goodness, we didn't talk about anything AI
oh,
related.
I know.
But you know
We can,
what?
we
That's
can,
okay.
we
We
can do
can
it
do that
always
next
next
time.
time.
But
There's always next time.
there is one thing I did think we were going to talk about. And that is how, like Robin and Giselle, you and I also too have a really good working relationship and a
Oh,
friendship as well. And so
that's so
I
touching.
think
That
that
really,
makes our podcast pretty good, even though you drive me crazy sometimes and we totally disagree on so many different things, but we definitely have respect for each other.
so deep down, you think I'm just a fucking amazing person. I love it. Thank you, Robbie. I really appreciate that.
I love how like you always got to go way, way over to the end. Like I'll say something and it's totally like I have to
I
give
am,
you
I am,
credit for
I
how
am
you
bringing words
translate
to your feeling.
words in your
I am
mind to
translating your
something
feelings
else.
into words.
Yes, into what you want them to be. And I just have to give you credit because I didn't realize that was a skill set. I mean, I'm starting to realize in life now that that is something a lot of people do. I think it's crazy, but I can't necessarily say it's crazy because I do like you because you know we're friends,
Exactly.
podcast mates, etc. But
Podcast mates. I like it.
well, I don't know. What were you podcast hosts?
Yeah.
What do we say? Oh, see, I was talking away from the mic. Look, if I talk in the microphone, it's
You
closely
sound a lot. You sound a lot better now. I can.
like
Wow.
that.
That's
This
yeah.
is even
Much
better.
better. Yes. That's great.
Okay, people. Well, we're gonna end the show like this. Um, this is Robbie.
And this is Stephen Kennedy, your board certified atheist at your service.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us today. We will be back next week. Be sure to follow, like, pass the podcast on to your friends. You know, we're on every platform. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on. You can even listen to the audio on YouTube. Please, please, please like us, follow us, and thank you for the time. All
And
right, Steven.
and share your thoughts about divine intervention.
Goodbye, people.
Goodbye, my friend.